Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another review of Sisters. We're on season 7, episode 7, entitled It's Giving Scandal. So let's just jump right into the review. We are in the wake of Tamara and Gary locking lips, and y'all know that pissed me off during last episode because it's getting far-fetched. It's getting a little bit far-fetched, but we're gonna keep going. Either way, he claims that he likes bad girls. Now, what I think is it's a setup because, you know, he's on this one-man mission to prove that all women are just trash. And so he wants to, I feel like he's kind of setting her up so he can prove to his boy, Gary, that she is, you know, as awful as he thinks she is. Either way, Hayden shows back up none the wiser, you know, from showing Penelope where the restroom is. And so we get back into talking, you know, about why they are there, and telling Gary about his desires to become partner at the firm. And while he might be a good employee and a good asset, you know, quote unquote, Gary tells him, like, listen, you need an A-list client. And again, I'm thinking he's wanting this to be Jordan. And so Gary also takes this time to get on a personal tip and remind him, like, hey, you need to slow down with Tamara, and you need to make her earn your trust. Remember, she's already, like, burned you before, so you need to slow things down. Doing his quote-unquote homeboy a favor, I guess, by telling him, hey, you need to slow down on this chick because she ain't who you think she is. As if you're any better, but whatever. And then he low-key insinuates that she could potentially cheat on him in the future. And you know, if Gary has anything to do with it, I'm sure he's going to make sure that comes to pass. And Hayden's big, super stupid, goofy ass over this talking, yeah, good looking out, just looking real stupid and just none the wiser as to what the hell is going on. And for some reason, he really seems to think that Gary is his friend. All right, so at the end of the night, Hayden and Tamara are talking about the evening, and they both realize, you know, that Penelope and Gary are putting on a show, you know, with all this lovey-dovey language, knowing that Gary doesn't have no intention of marrying this lady. He's using her, all this good stuff. And then she asks Hayden, like, hey, do you really trust Gary? Do you really think he's going to help you as good as he say he is? And Hayden tells Tamara, like, yeah, you know, he's a pretty good businessman or whatever. I take him as a man of his word, even though he's been in a whole bunch of crap since college. You know, I think he's going to come through for me, which he says, you know, if Gary ain't nothing else, he's consistent by way of always being in some shit. And so we get a little bit more backstory onto how Gary and Hayden know each other. It appears that they attended college together. You know, maybe like just acquaintances, like, yeah, you know, went to the same school, you know, not enough to be besties or anything, and they just kind of use each other when it's beneficial. That's, you know, what I got from the conversation. And then we also see Tamara and Hayden, you know, giving a little foreplay on the countertop, and she basically fantasizing about Gary already. Girl, just after one little dry lip lock, she already fantasizing about Gary, and it's pissing me off. It really is, because, girl, just annoying and way more annoying one and annoying two. Y'all don't need to be hooking up, but I guess we're running out of things to do, so we're just gonna go through it. Rich and Sabrina are out having lunch or whatever they're doing, and they exchange niceties as to how much each other means to each other. Let's just say we're going to compare it to, I don't know which one of the other girls said it's only been about 4 months since they've been dating. I think that Andy says that about Jordan. And we know that all the girls met the guys at the same time. So we're going to go with 4 months. It's only been about 4 months, and they're just exchanging niceties again about how much each other means to each other. And he pulls out a box for her birthday, and it's not what you think it is. It's just a very nice charm bracelet. He even went as far as to get it inscribed, you know, from Rich with love, good enough. But she doesn't seem excited about it, or, you know, maybe she is excited, but she's distracted. She tells her, listen, I love it, but I'm in my feelings a little bit. Her fertility consultation is tomorrow. It's coming up, and it reminds her of how alone she is in the process, you know, and how she is rapidly aging, and we need to make some decisions. He says, listen, you're not in the process by yourself. I'm here with you. And she reminds him, well, he reminds her, like, yeah, I don't want kids, but that should not stop you from your process, which is fair. You can't ask a whole lot of somebody, you know, you might not want what I want, we might not be on the same page, just don't stop me from doing what I want to do. I'll give him a hand clap of praise for that. Either way, she's realistic in asking him these rapid fire questions, which I feel like if you want the answer to the questions, give him a second to answer them. But whatever. She gives him rapid fire questions. She's like, you're okay. You don't want kids, but you support me in the process. However, like how long am I supposed to freeze these eggs? Are you gonna leave when you're no longer interested, or when I do decide to utilize the eggs, unthaw them suckers? What do I tell the kid? That you're just my boyfriend, but you're not that dad. You're not their dad, and you're also not interested in being bothered with them. Like, what does that look like when the kid comes into fruition, not by you, but you still potentially be around? Like, that's just confusing. She has a lot of questions, but of course we don't get any clear answers as to, what his answers are for these things in this moment. I'm sure that it'll come back around, but they're very good questions, questions that definitely need some sort of answer, some sort of clarification. And my solution is y'all just go ahead and be friends or whatever that is, because it's not going to work day to day. Again, like she said, when you get around to the point that you decide that you want to utilize these frozen eggs and embryos, and with you freezing embryos, like your consultant is going to tell you later on in the episode, it requires a man. It requires their particular juices and berries that's going to have to contribute, which means you have to get a donor or some, a third party involved. It's just too convoluted, and we're just going to have to figure that out on the back end. Well, I would rather figure it out on the front end as opposed to the back end, but this is where we are. All right, moving right along. Andy gets to work, and the receptionist asks her if she's okay. So Andy has been in, bliss with Jordan all night. She ain't really heard nothing about the news. She ain't checked social media. She don't know nothing. And so everybody's asking her if she's okay, she good, looking at her sideways, and she is just none the wiser. And she was like, why wouldn't I be? And then, doesn't get a clear answer, but Hayden is coming by to gloat and calls her Olivia Pope, like, basically thinking she's going to stand by Jordan and fix it. Again, no clear indication as to what is actually happening. But we know our girl Fatima going to come through. Fatima is really the Olivia Pope of this girl group, if we going to really call somebody Olivia Pope. But whatever. She rushes in to ask Andy, what's going on. She asks her, is it true? And again, Andy is none the wiser. And she's like, listen, it's about Jordan. And she shows her, it's all over the news. Andy seems to think that it's because his opponent dropped out. Remember, not that long ago, some scandal about his opponent came to the forefront. And I guess as a result, he decided to drop out. And she was like, no, ma'am, that's the least of your worries. Jordan is accused of having a relationship with an underage girl. And Andy is too stunned to speak. And the girl, I don't blame me. My chest would be tight. My chest would be hurting, because not only are you holding a relationship with somebody else, but it's with an underage girl. Now let's just presume the scandal was from in the past, so it's pre-Andy. But still, just an underage girl would be enough for me to, try to take you up out of here. But we got to get the facts, People be lying. That's how politics goes. So, whatever. And so she's stunned, because she was like, listen, I talked to his PR team, and they assured me that he had a clean past. Like, I don't know how something like this could have happened. And she also tells me, like, listen, we've only been dating for 4 months. Like, it's not looking good for my boy. It's not looking good. Fatima tells her, like, listen, everybody in the office also knows about it. So that's another strike immediately after getting out of that other crap, with the FBI and Gary. Not getting out of it, but with that dying down, you got a brand new scandal that's coming to the forefront by way of Jordan and his proverbial mess, which also leads back to Gary, if we're being honest here. And she didn't know anything was going on, because she left out of his house that morning without her phone, and she didn't want to turn around because he wants to talk about love, and girl, she's just not there yet. So whatever. I would have to get my device, girl. We're not talking about it right now, but I'm gonna need my things, because in case I might not come back, I need my stuff. Anyway, Fatima's asking the good questions that need to be asked. She was like, listen, has you shown any indicators? Have you heard about his past? Like, anything that's going to support these claims? And, Andy, she can't affirm. She can't affirm any of that, because honestly, we all know that it's not true. We all know that it's not true. We know that Gary orchestrated this thing. And so, we just got to go through it to get through it at this point. moving right along. Pam is working on her product line at the salon. She working on her work while she at work. And Karen reminds her, like, listen, that's a conflict of interest, girl. Like, you working on your own product line while you on my time, while you on my dime. And, Pam couldn't give less of a damn about it. She was like, listen, I got this. I can do both. I got this under control. Now, and then she goes on to ask Karen, like, hey, you heard about your girl? You heard about your boy Jordan, your girl's boyfriend Jordan? And, she shows Karen, and Karen is super shocked like everybody else. And she goes to call Andy, and Andy's not answering anybody's calls at this point, which, I'm not mad at you. I wouldn't be taking any forms of communication until I can process and figure out what the hell is going on. And another thing, if this news is hot off the press, do not call me 2 seconds after the shit drop online. Don't do that, because you're likely to get cursed. You're likely to get cursed out. Don't call me immediately. Let me process that thing. Let me feel what I got going on, and we'll talk later. Don't bombard me with, how you doing? Because, girl, right now, I'm homicidal. Leave me alone. Moving right along. We're at the airport, and Tony's been trying to reach Danny, but she's still a little bit upset, as to how things came about. And he finally tells her, like, listen, my child's mom, my children's mother, she's in the military, and she got orders to deploy. I agreed to keep the kids until she gets back, and that's really what happened. Danny tells him, like, listen, it's messed up how I found out about the situation, and he tells her basically, like, shit happens, what you want me to do? And she knew that he had kids, she knew what it was when she signed up. She just did not fathom or realize that the potential day-to-day aspect of those kids were a possibility because of what Tony had previously portrayed to her. And she thinks that he tells her, like, you're being insensitive about the situation. And he basically tells her that she needs to either deal with it or move on. Now, there's a whole lot in this little piece right here that I'm going to talk about. Okay? First of all, Tony, you knew the information about your child's mother's pending deployment at the time that you decided, okay, I'll take him for the whole summer. That did not happen within a few hours. Like, you had time to even call Danny and be like, hey, this is what's potentially going to happen. Just to give people time to process that thing. If you want her to be around, if you want her to be a part of this thing, not saying you owe anybody anything. It is just a courtesy, because it's a very big shift very early on. That's my thing. For 2, I'm going to give Tony the benefit of the doubt, though I doubt it is not true. Hear me out. As a veteran myself, I know that if you are going to deploy, there's a window of time when you have to prepare yourself, your family care plan, all of those things that you need to put in place before a deployment. Now there's some one-offs, but where you probably got to leave very soon, like immediately. But this does not appear to be that case. It seems like she just has orders to deploy somewhere short term, and especially considering the fact that it's for the entire summer, it's a short-term deployment, and so she's gonna be back in a couple months. Which, again, lets me know, in my military experience, like, you had the notification early on that I'm potentially deploying, finna deploy, all of that thing. So I feel like the way that Tony is portraying it is as if, she told me today and she leaving tomorrow. And if your baby mama did that, she is awful, but I don't feel like that's what happened. So we're going to operate under the assumption that she told you maybe, hey, I got orders, I might be leaving in a month, and you just getting around to saying something because those kids are now at the house full time. That's what I'm saying. There was a window of time where you could have expressed that to Danny and given her the option to opt in or opt out. Outside of the guise of take it or leave it and don't be insensitive type of bravado. But whatever, we're here now, and we know that by the end of this episode, Danny's going to be on board. It's just going to be a transition. Congratulations. Okay, so Sabrina is at work minding her business. Minding her own damn business. And Miss Page is standing over her shoulder like a hawk and goes on to tell Sabrina, hey, I noticed you put additional cash in your cash drawer. And Sabrina's like, and? Your point being? And if you remember the policy here at our bank, the policy is that cash drawers should only be at $20,000 at all times. And I think you should recount your drawer because I feel as if you're over your, your 20K maximum that you should have in your cash drawer. And Sabrina tells her, like, no, you do it. Since you know everything, you count it and you tell me how much is in my drawer. And Paige says, I'm used to having to double check your work anyway. Who you playing with? I'm used to double checking your work anyway, and then proceeds to count the money. As Sabrina goes to her office to mind her own damn business, girl, count it. I ain't got time to deal with you. I got my consultation. Do what you want to do. Anyway, Sabrina goes to her office to make her call, and it's to her doctor about the egg freezing consultation. And the doctor tells her that she has a better chance of freezing eggs and embryos as opposed to just eggs. But like I said earlier, the embryos do require sperm in order to freeze it. And she notices that Sabrina's paperwork says that she's single. And so she's like, yeah, I am single. However, she explains that to the doctor, and the doctor also recommends her to a sperm bank. She recommends a sperm bank to her in order to fertilize the embryos that she would have the option to freeze along with the eggs. Okay? And so the doctor offers her, the option. We can move forward with all the preliminary testing that needs to be done. All of that can happen whenever you're ready. And so she sees that Sabrina's hesitant, and she's like, listen, you'll be fine. You'll be just fine. You can do this. And I think that, first of all, the doctor should give me a day to process all this information that you just gave me, because I showed up here to talk about eggs and eggs only. You gave me eggs, you gave me embryos, you gave me sperm, you gave me a whole lot of information at once. Give me a second to process it before we move forward. Give me a couple days. For two, I don't see anything wrong with what Sabrina's doing. It is what she has decided for her, her life and her family planning. Again, dragging Tony along. No, not Tony, Rich. Dragging Rich along when he's not. I'm not saying he's not of support, but he's not of participation. So again, those are going to be obstacles that you're going to have to face unnecessarily. Like, what benefit? Somebody drop that in the comments. I'll be saying drop down in the comments. Like, y'all don't be talking to me. Well, it'll be some of y'all. But anyway, drop that in the comments and tell me what y'all think. I think that Rich is inconsequential. Like, I think he's a nice person. He's a good person. He's a great person. But like I always tend to say, just because somebody's good and great and wonderful does not mean that they're good and great and wonderful for you and what you decided to do with your life. And so in that, I mean that you might just have to give up this great guy. It's had to happen before, knowing that this person is amazing, but they're not amazing at what you need them to be amazing for. I don't think that Rich is going to abandon her and not be a part of the process. But what I think is that things are going to get real sticky when and if this baby comes into fruition. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm thinking a little bit too deeply into these people's lives, but I think that. And so I think we should just cut our losses, just enjoy the 4 months that we've already had, and just, or you could do this. You can go ahead and freeze your eggs and freeze your embryos. And so that way, when you get to the point where you feel like you have to unthaw these things and make them unthaw these eggs, or whatever the correct terminology is. Please forgive me if it sounds insensitive. I don't know what the terminology is, but when it comes time to utilize these eggs and or embryos, then you'll have to let go. But again, you'll be further into feelings, or however much more deeper people get into relationships by this time. So it might be a good idea to cut the time now. Like, it ain't got to be on no bad terms. It just has to be on, like, okay, two different directions. We're not in the same thing. I don't know. Let me know if that makes sense. Either way. Fatima goes to check on Andy, and she just keeps rereading the headline, like tortured herself with the information. And we go on to learn that the young girl is of Caucasian descent. She's a white girl. She's a white woman. And she, they're going back and forth on Fatima talking. And Fatima's like, well, what if she's lying? Like, she's like, let's let it play out. What if she's lying? And Andy's like, well, what if she's not lying? Like, we know how they crucify black men, especially when white women are involved. If you don't believe that, that's your business. You go ahead and, log out now. And Fatima tells her, listen, let's just wait before we make a hasty decision on him, because Andy's kind of getting to the point where she's like, listen, I need to cut ties now because I got too much to lose and I'm not getting lost in nobody else's aura anymore. So let's just say she's learned a lesson from Gary. Let's hope. Either way, she's like, listen, I don't have the luxury of waiting for this to play out. I worked so hard on my reputation and it could affect me. So it might be in my best interest to just cut my ties. And again, I don't blame you. I do not blame you. You worked very hard, to finish school, to potentially become partner and all these other things, to let it be overshadowed by someone you've only known for 4 months. Might be selfish. That's okay. I don't think being selfish is a bad thing either, in many occasions. So, whatever, let's talk about it in the comments if you feel differently. But I think it would be a good idea if you're going to do it. Now, if something concrete is proved differently, then, I'll join in the fold. Or y'all keep this thing on hush until we get this thing figured out. But don't sacrifice your career for the sake of supporting somebody that I'm pretty sure wouldn't return the favor, because that's how the world really works. Whatever. All right. Zach shows up at the absolute wrong time with flowers and making a bunch of noise at the office. And he also has a gift in hand for Tima. It's her acceptance letter for law school. It turns out she printed it out at her office and she didn't take it out fast enough for him to see it. And he has gotten it framed. And he's so proud of her, and it was very sweet. He is so proud of her. And she reminds him, like, listen, it's going to take a lot of my time. And he reminds her, like, listen, I'm going to be there. We'll figure it out. We'll work this thing out. It's really not even a big deal. I don't know why you tried to hide it. And he also goes on to tell her, like, he will build her own firm once she graduates, because he knows that that's what she desires. It was so beautiful. It was so nice. Andy storms in, while they're having this moment, and tells Fatima, like, listen, I can't stand it any longer. I'm finna go ahead and head out for the evening. I am about to go break up with Jordan. Goodbye. Now, let's backtrack a couple steps. I promise y'all I'm not a negative Nancy. I'm just hyper realistic in my expectations of people. It's a blessing and a curse. Let's go back to, what's his face? Zach, telling Fatima, I don't know why you tried to hide it. We're going to figure it out. I know it's going to take a lot of your time, blah, 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 blah. And it sounds wonderful. It sounds magical. It doesn't sound, it also sounds unlikely, because just the day before when y'all got Michael full time, you had all these plans of her being Susie Homemaker and doing all these in-house things, for you and baby Michael. And it's going to be hard for her to do both, because she's going to be in an intensive, mindset and studying and doing all these things that she needs to do for her career. And I don't think that you sat down and thought about the full scope of what that's going to look like. But we're going to let it play out, and I'm not going to be too hard on Zach. I would say his heart's in the right place. Now, his practical application is yet to be seen, so we'll see how that goes. Again, this whole thing is new for both of them, so we'll see how that goes. I just think we need some realism in there, and realizing, like, there's going to be some struggles. Just on the minor scale of examples that she gave, I think in the last episode, where it was like both of them had to run out to a work thing in the middle of the night, and now there's a coin toss as to who goes to handle what. Determining items that's going to have to come into play with the day-to-day stuff, but I'm sure we'll get to it. All right, Andy was trying to get up out of Dodge. She was walking. She was very much walking real fast, trying to get to her car in the parking lot. Trying to avoid anybody's stares, anybody's talking to her. And she runs smack dab into Jordan. He was sitting in the parking garage. He says he brought her phone, and she kind of snatched. She was like, well, so you gonna show up at my job? And he proclaims, like, listen, this ain't true. It's not. And she tells him, like, listen, this is humiliating for me. I'm trying to make a partner. I'm trying to do all these things. And so, that's what the conversation ends with them right now. But I don't know, Jordan, you might be getting the X. And it's unfortunate, again, because it's pseudo Gary's crap that's coming up again. So we just have to deal with it. All right. Danny goes to see Tony in his office, and he is not up for having to defend his kids, right now. And she doesn't listen. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I just want to talk to you. I just want to highlight you for a second. And she understands that, she was being a bit insensitive. But she just tells him, like, listen, it's been a quick transition for me also. Like, I'm a part of this thing. She's never dated anybody with kids before, and she didn't think she'd have to so soon. As far as, again, day-to-day interactions with kids are different when you only see them, let's see, once a month, every so often when they're just stopping by every now and again to see the dad. Day-to-day is totally different. And she tells him, listen, I know what your kids mean to you, and it's refreshing to see you be so dedicated to your kids. So that's absolutely not the problem. She's had a little bit of time to process everything. And she does ask him, like, hey, all I ask from here on out is just a little bit of inclusion in the thought process. Going back to, my earlier review, like I said, I feel like he had more than, a day's notice that the kids are coming. Just to, 4 months in, I think you could have had the conversation and let Danny know, like, hey, all right, my baby's mother, she's in the military, just that is enough information to, let somebody know potentially, hey, this is a possibility. She might have to deploy. She really might have to do it. All right. Karen goes to Sabrina at work, and she's there to work on her personal loan application. Sabrina was like, girl, I do what I can to help you, because she's kind of drowning. The shop was supposed to take off and, be doing numbers by now, and it's not getting there as quickly, and so she needs to figure out her next course of action. She lost a stylist last week. Pam is slacking. She focused on her social media. She got taxes. Like, she got a whole lot of things that's piling on. And Sabrina asked her, listen, why didn't you tell nobody? Like, why didn't you say nothing to your friends, to nobody? And she knows that they have their own lives, and, she doesn't want to burden them with her own stuff. And I understand that. Me and Karen ain't got much in common, but I absolutely understand the fact of not wanting to be a burden to the people that you love, because you know that life is already hard and stressful enough without you just, adding your straw to the camel's back. You know what I mean? So I can understand why she want to figure it out on her own. But I can also see Sabrina's willingness to help, because I feel like this particular girl group, is a lot like my own friend girl groups. It's 5 of us in mine too. Hey y'all. Anyway, willing. They're willing, once asked or once invited into, where they can be of assistance. But it's very much hard, and I doubt that I ever outgrow it. But it's good to know that they're there if the need absolutely arises. All right. And Sabrina now has to tell Karen, like, listen, I just put the application in, girl, and they ain't approve you. I'm sorry. There's a whole lot of factors that might contribute as to why, maybe her credit score is low. Maybe, it's a whole lot that could have contributed as to why she was denied for the personal loan. And so now she's got to come up with an alternative. Sabrina offers her the check that Andy gave her for her birthday, and she's like, no, ma'am, that's your birthday gift. I'm not going to do that. Sabrina reminds her, like, listen, we're friends, and this is what we do, in this group. Like, it's not a big deal. Of course, Karen's not going to hear none of it. I'm going to figure it out. I got this, girl. We're going to be fine. All right. Tamara gets a phone call, child, and this must be from a block number or something, and it's Gary, and she acting real dumb, like she don't know who it is, talking about, who is this? Who on my phone? You know who the hell it is, Trollop, and it's Gary, and he is giving her, like, some phone sex, child, to keep on her mind, and she seems to be enjoying it. And for a split second, I thought they were both trying to set each other up to prove to Hayden how awful the other one is. But I feel like Gary is on that mission to set Tamara up to prove how awful she is to Hayden. But I just feel like Tamara just don't give a damn. And, the thrill of it is just what's exciting her. And I think I read somewhere. I try so hard during the week to not read things until my review's done. Either way, saw something I took, and it was like, maybe Tamara is onto a bigger fish, because remember, this is her shtick. Remember, she works for Madam, and so she's on Madam's payroll too, and so her job is to kind of, draw men in and take them for what they can get, and, kind of help Madam, get evidence on people. So I think maybe she's onto a bigger fish by way of Gary, but girl, it's giving tilapia. Gary is not really the fish you want fry, but whatever. Here we are. Either way, she's so hot and bothered, child, and she just needs Hayden to come in and scratch that itch for her while she further fantasizes about what Gary has left with on her mind, child. It's disgusting me at this point. It's just pissing me off. But, you know, I'm going to let it go for now. Either way, the girls are at Andy's and everybody's just sitting quiet and awkward. And she's devoid of emotion. She's just staring off into space. And, you know, in true Danny fashion, she going to kick the shit off and get us talking. And she asked her, like, hey, do you plan on sticking beside him? Like, are you going to stick beside him? And everybody has different thoughts about the situation and, you know, what it is or where it could go or whatever. And she tells the girl that she is freezing. And so to break up the monotony of the conversation, because Andy don't have all the answers, again, it's still early on. Sabrina tells the girls, like, you know, I'm freezing my eggs and my embryos, the sperm bag and all that other stuff. And, you know, everybody's in support of it except Danny. Danny, again, very realistic and, like, you know, make sure he's not crazy. Make sure these, you know, we don't have these things that could be passed down through DNA, you know, certain genes, certain genetics. I'm not sure until I see, you know, the portfolio of potential daddies, but to be determined on my vote. This is what Danny is saying. Everybody else is like, you know, go ahead, girl. I support you. Jordan calls Andy, you know, and asks her to stand beside him on this. And she ain't sure about none of that at all. And Jordan tries to soothe her concerns by saying, even the police believe me. And she was like, well, what do you mean the police believed you? You went to the cops? He was like, no, I went to the precinct to, you know, tell my side and let them know, like, I don't know this girl. And she was like, without a lawyer present? Like, that don't make no sense. But what pissed me off, you asked the lady to stand beside you on this. Let's be realistic. If it were Andy in this same sort of scandal, would he be standing beside her? No. And again, this 4 months is weighing heavy on me. That's just me. It's too early on for me to be sticking beside you in something so big. I can support you from the background, but as far as like going to, you know, getting on a public platform and just standing beside you, like what's his name? Tick from, oh God, what's the man's name? I can't think of nobody's name right now. Remember, he was accused of beating his white girlfriend, and oh God, I can't think of nobody's name. Either way, Tick from the show that got canceled. I can't think of the names right now. Either way, I'm not finna stick beside you while you out here making press conferences. I'm not gonna be standing on the wing. I'll probably send you a little text and be like, hold your head, but that's the best I can do. Ken goes to Zach and tells him, she pulls up to the house. She get back on her attitude shit. She pulls up to the house and tells him, listen, I got a DNA test scheduled for 12 o'clock tomorrow. You need to be there solo on your own. Do not bring Fatima. He was like, you could have texted me or called me and that. She's like, no, I wanted to tell you in person. And then she makes the process that she has to go through sound very much more traumatic than what he'll need to go through. But hey, since you want me to go, basically trying to make him feel bad about even asking for it. And she tells him, don't bring Fatima. And Fatima says, well, who the hell is going to stop me? With me potentially being his wife, I need to know as well. So who gonna check me? And that's where the episode ends. And so now we back on this whole thing between Fatima and Karen again at Karen's hands, because she got an attitude now. You know, things ain't going her way, so now everybody got to suffer. And that is it. That has been season 7, episode 7. Let me know what you think about the episode in the comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is you feel like doing. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.